The pilot's voice crackles over the intercom. "Security to first class. We have a situation with a suspicious passenger who refuses to comply." Diana Washington sits perfectly still in seat 2A, her $5,000, 0 cents Armani suit immaculate, despite the 3 uniformed officers now surrounding her. The entire first-class cabin watches in stunned silence as Captain Bradley Mitchell emerges from the cockpit, that familiar smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. The same expression he's worn every time he's done this before. What Mitchell doesn't know, what none of them know, is that the quiet black woman in 2A holds a secret that will destroy everything the pilot has spent 30 years building. Diana's fingers brush against her phone, where a single notification glows. Majority shareholder, Meridian Airways. If you were humiliated like this in front of 200 people, would you stay silent or fight back? Let me know where you're watching from. As the officer reaches for his handcuffs, Diana does something no one expects. 3 hours earlier, Diana Washington enters Atlanta International Airport with the measured stride of a woman who has walked through 1,000 terminals. The Patek Philippe on her wrist catches the morning light, a subtle detail that the check-in agent notices immediately. Her fingers pause over the keyboard, eyes flickering between Diana's face and the first-class booking on her screen. The prejudice is subtle, but practiced. "I'll need to verify this reservation, ma'am," she says, though she's already looking past her to her supervisor. The name matches, the credit card is platinum, everything checks out perfectly. Still, she makes the call that she never makes for the white businessmen who breeze through her line. Diana has seen this dance before. She's been performing it since she was 18, flying to college interviews, watching how differently she's treated than her white classmates with the same tickets, the same destinations, the same dreams. The supervisor arrives, all false smiles and protocol, directing Diana to additional security screening. Random selection, they assure her, though the randomness seems to have a very specific pattern that always includes people who look like her. In the security line, Diana removes her belt, her shoes, empties her pockets with practiced efficiency. The metal detector stays silent, but they pull her aside anyway. Pat down, bag search, chemical swab. 20 minutes of dignity, stripped away layer by layer, while her fellow first-class passengers walk past, some averting their eyes in second-hand embarrassment, others staring with naked curiosity, as if trying to figure out what crime she must have committed to deserve this treatment. Her internal monologue remains steady, controlled, stay calm, document everything. This is bigger than just today. Her hand unconsciously moves to her jacket pocket, where her mother's worn Meridian Airways employee ID badge rests against her chest. Patricia Washington, 197919995. The photo is faded, but her proud smile still shines through. She never lived to see justice for what they did to her at Meridian, but her daughter has spent 3 years planning for this moment. At the gate, a flight attendant spots her immediately. Sandra Williams has been with Meridian for 15 years, a single mother of 2, living paycheck to paycheck, 1 sick day away from disaster. She knows she shouldn't judge, knows it's wrong. But Captain Mitchell has trained the crew well, and fear of losing her job overrides her conscience. "That's our 2A, she whispers to her colleague Kevin Johnson, a younger attendant whose frown deepens at her tone. Better keep an eye on her. She doesn't know that Diana heard her, doesn't know that she's cataloging every microaggression, every suspicious glance, every whispered warning. Captain Mitchell, pre-flight check complete, emerges from the jet bridge just in time to catch Sandra's warning. At 55, Mitchell carries himself with the authority of 3 decades in the air, though that authority has curdled into something darker over the years. He's built his reputation on being tough, on maintaining order in his aluminum kingdom, never questioning why his definition of order always seems to require putting certain people in their place. "Which one?" Mitchell asks quietly, though he already knows. In his mind, there's always a which one in first class, always someone who doesn't belong in his kingdom, above the clouds. 2A just has that look, you know? Sandra responds, not realizing she's just lit a fuse that will destroy everything. Mitchell knows exactly what she means. He's removed 17 passengers over his career for being suspicious or unruly. His record is spotless, on paper. The union always backs him because he's careful, never explicitly mentioning race, always finding some other excuse. Management never questions him because it's easier to remove a passenger than deal with a discrimination lawsuit. And every time he sleeps soundly, convinced he's keeping the skies safe from those people, never examining why those people always seem to share certain characteristics. But it's what happens when Diana boards the plane that changes everything. Diana settles into seat 2A with the same calm precision she brings to billion-dollar board meetings. The leather barely creases under her before Sandra appears, that practiced smile not quite reaching her eyes. She's already decided Diana doesn't belong here, already constructing the narrative that will justify what's about to happen. "Ma'am, I need to see your boarding pass." The request is delivered with syrupy sweetness that doesn't mask the suspicion underneath. Diana presents it without comment, watching Sandra study it as if it might reveal itself as a forgery under scrutiny. She's already seen it at the gate, already scanned it, but here she stands, performing her doubt for the other passengers, establishing Diana as suspect, as other, as someone who needs to be watched. Is this really your name?" The question hangs in the air like an accusation, as if Diana Washington is too normal a name for someone who looks like her. "Yes." One word, delivered without emotion, giving her nothing to escalate. "I'll need to see your ID as well." This isn't standard procedure. They both know it. The passengers around them know it. But no one says anything because uncomfortable truths are easier to ignore at 30,000 feet. Around them, other first-class passengers shift uncomfortably in their seats. A white woman in 2B, Eleanor Morrison, focuses intently on her magazine, though she hasn't turned a page in 5 minutes. She wants to say something, knows this is wrong, but she's 70 years old and was raised not to make scenes. A businessman across the aisle clears his throat, considering speaking up, then remembers he has an important merger to close and can't afford to be delayed if he's also removed from the flight. They all know something is wrong here, but saying something would mean getting involved, and getting involved is risky when you're trapped in a metal tube with someone who has complete authority. Sandra examines Diana's driver's license with the intensity of a federal investigator, holding it up to the light, running her finger over the edges, performing security theater for an audience that's growing increasingly uncomfortable. "Ms. Washington," she pronounces it carefully, as if the name itself is suspicious, as if she's uncovered some deception. "And you're sure this is your seat?" "I'm sure." Diana maintains her calm, though inside she's remembering her mother coming home in tears, describing similar humiliations, similar questions about whether she belonged in the uniform she wore with such pride. Sandra's agitation grows with each calm response. She's used to anger, to confrontation that justifies escalation. She's been trained to see certain reactions as threatening, raised voices, defensive postures, any emotion at all from certain passengers. But Diana gives her nothing. Her composure unnerves Sandra because it doesn't fit the script she's been taught. "I'm going to need to get my supervisor." Of course. 2 words, perfectly modulated, professionally delivered. Another flight attendant, Kevin Johnson, approaches cautiously. He's been flying for only 2 years, still believes in the nobility of the profession, still thinks he can serve everyone equally. As a young black man himself, he recognizes what's happening but knows speaking up could cost him his job. "Sandra, is everything—" "Get Captain Mitchell," her voice carries now, intentionally loud, ensuring everyone in first class hears, ensuring they all know there's a problem with the black passenger in 2A. "We have a situation." The word situation ripples through the cabin like a stone dropped in still water. Phones emerge discreetly from pockets and purses. The modern air traveler knows drama when they see it brewing, and social media has made everyone a potential witness. A young tech worker in 3C, Alex Chen, starts recording, angling his phone to capture what's about to unfold. He'll later say he knew something bad was about to happen, could feel it in the air like electricity before a storm. Captain Mitchell emerges from the cockpit like a sheriff entering a saloon in an old western. His pilot's uniform is crisp, 4 stripes gleaming with authority that goes unquestioned in this aluminum kingdom. He doesn't hurry. Men like Mitchell never hurry when they hold all the power. Each step is measured, deliberate, designed to build tension, to establish dominance before a word is spoken. "Ma'am, we've had reports of a disturbance." The lie comes easily to Mitchell. There's been no disturbance and they both know it, but the script requires certain words, certain accusations that transform a passenger from human to threat. Diana looks up, meeting Mitchell's eyes for the first time. In that moment, something passes between them. Recognition, perhaps, though not of each other as individuals. Mitchell sees defiance in Diana's calm, a refusal to perform the submission he expects. Diana sees in Mitchell the same look she's seen 1,000 times before, the look that says, "You don't belong here," that says, "I have the power to remind you of your place." "There's no disturbance, Captain." Diana's voice is steady, professional, giving nothing away. "I'll be the judge of that." Mitchell stands too close, using his height advantage, an intimidation tactic he's perfected over the years. At 6'3", he towers over most passengers, and he uses every inch to establish dominance. Passengers are uncomfortable. "Which passengers?" Diana asks, genuinely curious which of her fellow travelers has complained about her sitting quietly in her purchased seat. Mitchell doesn't answer directly because there is no answer. No one has complained. Sandra created the situation from nothing, and Mitchell is escalating it because that's what he does. "When my crew tells me there's a problem, I listen. That's how I keep everyone safe." "I see." Diana's fingers find her mother's badge again, drawing strength from its presence. "And what problem have I caused?" "Your attitude, for starters." Mitchell is grasping now, trying to find something, anything to justify what he's already decided to do. "My attitude of sitting quietly in my assigned seat?" A hint of something, not quite sarcasm, but close, enters Diana's voice. Mitchell's jaw tightens. He's not used to being questioned, certainly not by someone like this. In his cockpit, his word is law. Out here, it should be the same. "Ma'am, I'm going to ask you once to cooperate with my crew. I am cooperating." "It's true." Diana has done everything asked of her, shown every document demanded, answered every question posed. "No." Mitchell leans in closer, voice dropping to a menacing whisper that the recording phones might not catch. "You're being difficult, and difficult passengers are a security risk." Kevin Johnson, the young flight attendant, finds his courage. "Captain, I haven't seen—" "Did I ask you, Johnson?" Mitchell doesn't even look at him. His focus laser-locked on Diana, this challenge to his authority, this black woman who dares to sit in first class and meet his eyes as an equal. "If you can't support your crew, maybe you need to find another job." The threat hangs in the air. Kevin, who has student loans and rent to pay, who loves flying but loves eating more, swallows his objection. He'll hate himself for this moment of cowardice later, but in the moment, survival wins over conscience. The pilot's next words would cost him everything he'd worked 30 years to build. "Here's what's going to happen," Mitchell announces, his voice now pitched to carry through the entire first-class cabin. He's performing now, not just for Diana, but for everyone watching, establishing his narrative, his version of events that will justify whatever comes next. "You're going to collect your things and move to economy. We have a seat in 34E that should be more suitable." The pause before more suitable is deliberate, loaded with meaning that everyone understands but no one will acknowledge. 34E is a middle seat in the back of the plane, between the bathrooms and the galley, the worst seat on the aircraft. It's not about safety, it's about humiliation, about putting someone in their place. Diana doesn't move. Her stillness is its own form of resistance. I paid for this seat. I don't care if you paid for the whole damn plane. Mitchell's mask slips, revealing the ugliness beneath the professional veneer. The real Mitchell emerges, the one who's spent 30 years nursing grievances, building walls, seeing threats in every black face that dares to occupy space he thinks belongs to him. I'm the captain. My plane, my rules. You move or I have you removed. On what grounds? Diana asks, her lawyer's training showing through. She needs Mitchell to be specific, to articulate the inarticulate, to speak the unspeakable, on the grounds that I said so. Mitchell straightens, addressing the cabin now, playing to his audience like a politician at a rally. Folks, I apologize for this disruption. We take your safety seriously at Meridian Airways, and sometimes that means making tough decisions. The woman in 2B, Eleanor Morrison, finally finds her voice. 70 years old, raised to be polite, she's also old enough to remember when signs reading "whites only" were legal, and she recognizes the same poison in a different package. Captain, this lady hasn't done anything. I've been sitting right here. Ma'am, I appreciate your concern, but I have 16,000 flight hours. I know a security risk when I see one. Mitchell dismisses her with the condescension reserved for elderly women who don't know their place either. Alex Chen, the young passenger with his phone clearly recording, bold with the courage of his generation, asks, "What exactly makes her a security risk? Because, from where I'm sitting, all she's done is exist while black." The cabin goes silent. Someone has said the quiet part out loud. Named the thing everyone can see but pretends not to notice. Mitchell's eyes flash dangerously. This is not how the script is supposed to go. "Sir, I'm going to need you to put that phone away. It's my right to record, not on my aircraft." Mitchell is losing control of the narrative, and he knows it. Time to escalate beyond the point of return. Diana watches this unfold with the detached interest of a chess player, seeing the board develop exactly as predicted. She's spent 3 years planning for this moment, buying stock through shell companies, waiting for the perfect opportunity to expose what her mother lived through every day of her career. She pulls out her boarding pass one more time, holding it up like evidence in a court of law. "Captain Mitchell, I'm sitting in the seat I paid for. I've been completely compliant with your crew. If you remove me without cause, you're violating federal aviation regulations and Meridian Airways' own policies. Are you threatening me?" Mitchell seizes on this, trying to flip the script to make Diana the aggressor. "In informing you of the law." Diana remains calm, factual, giving nothing that can be twisted into threat. Mitchell's face goes from red to purple. No one talks to him this way. Not passengers, not crew, certainly not people like this. His thoughts, unspoken but clear in his expression, might as well be written in neon above his head. "Sandra, call airport security. Tell them we have an unruly passenger refusing crew member instructions." "Captain," Kevin tries again, surprising himself with his persistence. "I really don't think." "Johnson, you're relieved. Get off my plane." The words come out sharp, final. This is beyond unusual. Flight attendants don't get relieved mid-boarding. This is Mitchell showing his power, demonstrating that anyone who challenges him will face consequences. The cabin erupts in whispers. Passengers who were pretending not to watch drop all pretense. This has escalated beyond the usual power trip into something darker, more disturbing. Kevin stands his ground, though his legs shake. "I'm not leaving, Captain, and I'm documenting this interaction for the union." "Document this." Mitchell keys his radio, his voice cold with authority. "Atlanta ground, Meridian 742, requesting immediate law enforcement assistance. We have a passenger interfering with crew duties." Eleanor Morrison gasps audibly. "This is insane. She's literally just sitting there." Ma'am, if you continue to interfere, you'll be removed as well. Mitchell is beyond reason now, drunk on his own power, convinced of his righteousness. Diana pulls out her phone with deliberate slowness, scrolls to a specific contact. The movement is small, subtle, but Mitchell catches it, sees it as one more act of defiance. Put the phone away. Now, I'm contacting my attorney. You'll contact whoever you want from the terminal. Mitchell turns to Sandra, who looks increasingly uncomfortable with the monster she's helped create. Where's that security team? Through the windows, flashing lights appear on the tarmac. Airport police, responding to a call about an unruly passenger, approach with the seriousness of officers who've been told they're dealing with a potential terrorist. 3 Atlanta Airport Authority officers board within minutes, hands resting on their service weapons, eyes scanning for the threat they've been told exists. Gentlemen, Mitchell greets them like old friends, which, in a way, they are. He's done this before. They've responded before. The dance is familiar. This passenger is refusing to comply with crew member instructions. I need her removed from my aircraft. The lead officer, Martinez, a 20-year veteran who's seen this scenario too many times, surveys the scene. He sees a well-dressed black woman surrounded by agitated crew and nervous passengers. His training tells him to de-escalate, but his experience tells him how this will end. The captain's word is law on an aircraft. If Mitchell wants this woman removed, she'll be removed. Ma'am, I'm gonna need you to come with us. Diana stands slowly with the dignity of someone who knows they're being wronged but refuses to give their oppressors the satisfaction of seeing them broken. She adjusts her suit jacket with precise movements, ensuring her mother's badge remains secure in her pocket. Every movement is deliberate, controlled, designed to show that she's leaving under protest, but without resistance. Officer, I want it on record that I'm complying fully. I've committed no crime, violated no regulations, and posed no threat to anyone on this aircraft. We'll sort it all out in the security office, ma'am. Martinez says this gently, almost apologetically. He's a good cop, trapped in a bad system, enforcing rules he doesn't make and probably doesn't agree with. As Diana moves toward the aisle, she locks eyes with Mitchell one final time. There's no anger in her gaze, no fear, just a quiet certainty that makes Mitchell unconsciously step back. Captain, you might want to check who actually owns this plane. Mitchell laughs, the sound harsh and dismissive. I've been flying for Meridian for 30 years, lady. I know exactly who signs my checks. Do you? Diana touches send on her phone. A single message flies through digital space. Execute Protocol 7 for Patricia Washington. Dark Corner, The Fire, from The Legend of Washington's Own. The other passengers watch in stunned silence as 3 officers escort Diana off the plane. Phones capture every angle, every moment. Alex Chen, who's been recording, makes sure to capture Mitchell's satisfied smirk, the way he straightens his uniform as if he's just won a great victory. That smirk, frozen in pixels, will be Mitchell's undoing. Eleanor Morrison shakes her head in disgust. This is absolutely shameful. That woman did nothing wrong. Mitchell basks in his victory, returning to his stage at the front of the cabin. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for that unpleasantness. Here at Meridian Airways, your safety is our #1 priority. Sometimes that means making difficult decisions, but I'd rather err on the side of caution than put any of you at risk. Scattered applause from a few passengers, the ones who value their comfort over justice, who are relieved the disruption has been removed so they can get to their destinations without delay. Others look away, ashamed of their silence, already crafting the stories they'll tell themselves about why they didn't speak up. Kevin stands at the galley, typing furiously on his phone, documenting everything while he still can. Johnson, Mitchell calls out, his voice carrying the threat of unemployment. I wasn't joking. Get off my plane. No, sir, union contract states. I don't give a damn what the union contract states. Mitchell is riding high now, invincible in his kingdom above the clouds. Sandra, call scheduling. Tell them we need a replacement flight attendant. We're already 20 minutes behind schedule because of that. He catches himself before saying something that even he knows would be too explicit. Disruption. In the jet bridge, Diana walks calmly between the officers. Passengers boarding late stare openly, some recognizing the drama they've just missed, others simply curious about the black woman being escorted by police. She keeps her head high, dignified, her mother's badge pressing against her chest with each step. She thinks of her, of the stories she told about passengers who refused to be served by her, about pilots who joked about her accent, about the daily indignities she endured because she loved to fly more than she hated the abuse. You know, Officer Martinez says quietly, almost conversationally, if you'd just moved seats, none of this would have happened. Diana stops walking, causing the other officers to stop as well. She turns to Martinez, sees a man who probably means well but doesn't understand the weight of what he's just said. Officer, my mother was a flight attendant for Meridian Airways. In 1987, she was forced to serve in the galley storage area because a passenger complained about being served by someone who looked like her. She complied, kept quiet, kept her job. She resumes walking, her voice carrying the weight of generational pain. She died believing things would change. So, no, I wasn't going to move seats. Martinez says nothing more, but something shifts in his expression. He's heard similar stories from his own family, knows the weight of history that Diana carries. But he has a job to do, a mortgage to pay, kids to feed. The system grinds on, crushing everyone in its path, some more than others. As 3 officers surround her, Diana pulls out her phone and sends one text that would destroy them all. The security office at Atlanta Airport smells of burnt coffee and institutional disinfectant, the scent of bureaucracy and boredom. Diana sits in a metal chair, hands folded in her lap, the picture of calm while officers fill out paperwork that will justify what everyone knows was unjustified. They've taken her ID, her boarding pass, performed another search that found nothing because there was nothing to find. Through the thin walls, she can hear planes taking off. Meridian 742 AM among them, no doubt with Captain Mitchell at the helm, probably telling his co-pilot about the close call they just avoided. Miss Washington, Martinez begins, settling into his desk chair with the weariness of someone who's had this conversation too many times. The captain of an aircraft has broad authority to— "Oh, Officer Martinez," Diana interrupts gently, her voice carrying no hostility, only certainty. "I appreciate you doing your job. I have no quarrel with you or your colleagues. But I need to make one phone call. You'll get your call when we're done processing." It's procedure, what Martinez is supposed to say, but there's no heat in it. "Check your regulations. I'm not under arrest. I haven't been charged with anything. I'm entitled to contact my attorney immediately." Diana's tone remains conversational, but there's steel underneath. Martinez exchanges glances with his partners. The calm, educated demeanor doesn't fit their usual removal profile. Most people escorted off planes are angry, belligerent, often intoxicated. Diana is none of these things. She's something far more dangerous. She's right. Fine. One call. Diana dials from memory. 3 rings, then Steinberg. Chen and Associates. Victoria, it's Diana. Execute Protocol 7. Ma'am? Victoria Stone has been Diana's attorney for 10 years, has made her millions in deals, but she's never heard this code. "I don't understand. Check your files. The sealed envelope in your safe. The one I said you'd know when to open." "Diana, what's going on? Are you in trouble?" "I'm at Atlanta Airport Security. Meridian Airways Flight 742. Captain Mitchell. Document everything." She glances at the officers, who are pretending not to listen while hanging on every word. "I'll maintain complete silence until you arrive. I'm on my way." Diana ends the call and settles back in her chair. She says nothing more, Not when Martinez asks questions about what happened on the plane. Not when they threaten to escalate charges if she doesn't cooperate. Not when they call Meridian Airways to verify the incident and get an earful from Mitchell about the aggressive passenger who had to be removed. Silence, Diana learned from her mother, has a power of its own. It makes people uncomfortable, makes them fill the void with their own words, their own assumptions, their own guilt. 40 minutes later, Victoria Stone arrives in a rush of Chanel perfume and legal authority. She's a small woman who fills every room she enters. 5 feet 2 inches of concentrated competence that has reduced federal prosecutors to stammering apologies. The security office, with its flickering fluorescent lights and water-stained ceiling tiles, seems to shrink around her presence. Gentlemen, I'm Victoria Stone, Ms. Washington's attorney. I'll need a complete record of why my client is being detained. She was removed from an aircraft for failing to comply with crew instructions. Martinez reads from his notes, the words sounding more ridiculous with each syllable. What instructions, specifically? Martinez shuffles through his paperwork, looking for something that isn't there. She was asked to change seats and refused. Was she in her assigned seat? Yes, but was she creating a disturbance? The captain said. I didn't ask what the captain said. I asked if my client was creating a disturbance. Do you have witness statements? Video evidence? Any proof whatsoever that Ms. Washington did anything other than exist while black in first class? The last question hangs in the air like an accusation. Martinez's partners suddenly find their shoes very interesting. They know what this is, have always known, but naming it makes them complicit in a way that silence doesn't. As Martinez fumbles for answers that don't exist, Victoria's phone buzzes. She glances at it, and her expression shifts from professional concern to something closer to awe. Excuse me, I need to take this. She steps outside, leaving Diana still silent, still calm, a woman who knows the next moves in a game her opponents don't even realize they're playing. The call is brief but transformative. When Victoria returns, she's struggling to maintain her poker face, the kind of struggle that comes from learning your client has just revealed herself to be Wonder Woman. Officers, I've just been instructed to inform you that Meridian Airways will be conducting an internal investigation into this incident. My client is free to go, correct? She's not under arrest. No, but then we're leaving. She helps Diana to her feet with the care of someone handling precious cargo. And I'd suggest you preserve all documentation related to this incident. You'll be receiving subpoenas shortly. Outside the security office, Victoria waits until they're alone in the hallway before speaking. The words come out in a rush, like pressure released from a valve. Diana, I opened the envelope. Is this real? Do you actually... 51% of Meridian Airways stock, acquired through various holdings over the past 3 years. Diana adjusts her blazer, the gesture casual, as if she hasn't just revealed she owns an entire airline. The board meeting is in 90 minutes. My God. Victoria stops walking, her heels clicking one last time on the terrazzo floor. You bought an entire airline? When were you going to tell me? When the moment was right. She pulls out the worn ID badge, shows it to Victoria. The photo is faded, but the pain is fresh. My mother died believing she'd never see justice for what they did to her at Meridian. Every slight, every humiliation, every time they made her feel like she didn't belong in the uniform she wore with such pride. Her voice carries 30 years of suppressed rage, controlled and channeled into purpose. I bought it, piece by piece. Waited for the right moment. Captain Mitchell just gave me that moment. Back on Meridian 742, now cruising at 35,000 feet toward Los Angeles, Mitchell holds court in the cockpit. His co-pilot, Tommy Rivera, son of Mitchell's best friend from the Air Force, maintains uncomfortable silence as Mitchell regales him with the story. Tommy's father had taught him to respect Mitchell, had told stories of their service together, but this doesn't sound like the man his dad described. You should have seen her face when security showed up. Mitchell laughs, the sound harsh in the confined space. Probably thought her fancy suit would save her. These people, they get a little money and think rules don't apply to them. Tommy shifts in his seat, adjusting instruments that don't need adjusting. His father is Mexican-American, raised his son to recognize injustice when he sees it. Skip, don't you think maybe what? Maybe I should have let her intimidate my crew, disrupt my flight. Mitchell's jovial mood darkens instantly. This is the problem nowadays. Everyone's so worried about hurt feelings they forget about safety. But was she actually a safety threat? Tommy can't help but ask, even knowing it might damage their relationship. Mitchell turns sharply, his eyes narrowing. Are you questioning my judgment, Lieutenant? In the use of military rank. A power play Mitchell employs when he wants immediate obedience. It works on most people, but Tommy isn't most people. Still, he backs down, choosing survival over confrontation. No, sir. Good, because in 30 years of flying, I've never had an incident. You know why? Because I trust my gut. And my gut told me that woman was trouble. In the cabin, Sandra serves drinks with hands that shake slightly. Several passengers have asked about the removed woman, their questions ranging from concerned to accusatory. Some have shown her their videos, asking if she wants to comment for the social media posts they're already composing. She declines each time, focuses on her job, tries not to think about her kids at home, her rent that's due next week, her precarious position in a job that barely pays enough to survive. Kevin works the other aisle, his own phone recording in his pocket, capturing audio of everything happening around him. He's already sent emails to the union, to friends at other airlines, to a cousin who works at CNN. He knows this will cost him, knows Mitchell will make his life hell, but he can't unsee what happened, can't unhear the prejudice that dripped from every word. Sandra, he whispers during a quiet moment in the galley, we need to talk about what happened. No, she hisses back, fear making her voice sharp. We don't. Just do your job. Our job isn't supposed to include. Our job is whatever Captain Mitchell says it is. Her voice cracked slightly, the weight of her complicity already crushing her. I've got 2 kids, Kevin. I can't afford to be a hero. Meanwhile, in a boardroom across Atlanta, emergency messages fly between executives like digital panic attacks. David Park, the CFO, stares at his computer screen in disbelief as he runs the shareholder registry for the 5th time. The numbers don't change, refuse to become something more comfortable, more manageable. Shell companies, investment funds, careful accumulation over 36 months. All leading back to one name, Diana Washington. CEO Robert Harrison storms in, his golf game interrupted by frantic calls. What's this about an emergency board meeting? I'm in the middle of, Bob, we have a problem. Park turns his screen toward the CEO, the gesture feeling like presenting evidence at a tribunal. You know that passenger Mitchell had removed from Flight 7042 this morning. All of passenger. Objective communication. Alternative. Objective. The security risk. What about her? Harrison is already irritated. Doesn't like being pulled from the links for operations issues. She moans us. Harrison laughs, the sound dying quickly as he sees Park's expression. That's impossible. Our majority shareholder is Olympus Capital, which is owned by Phoenix Holdings, which is owned by Washington Enterprises, which is owned by... Park points to the name on screen like it might bite. Diana Washington. 51% stake. The color drains from Harrison's face as the implications hit him like a physical blow. His legs actually wobble, forcing him to grab the edge of the conference table for support. Get legal up here, now! Already on their way. How did we not know? Harrison demands, pacing his office like a caged animal, his usual corporate swagger evaporating. How does someone buy half our company without us noticing? Park pulls up the detailed records, the digital paper trail of their doom. She was smart. Never more than 4.9% in any single entity, spread across dozens of holdings. Nothing that would trigger disclosure requirements until... He gestures helplessly at the screen. Until now. Get Mitchell on the phone. Tell him to... Harrison stops, realizing the futility. No, he needs to hear this in person. Get him back here. His flight doesn't land until... I don't care if you have to charter a plane. Get him here. Harrison is already calculating the damage, the lawsuits, the publicity nightmare. And get our PR team ready. This is going to be a disaster, Park finishes. It already is. Social media is exploding. The video has 500,000 views and climbing. Within an hour, every executive at Meridian Airways would receive a message that made their blood run cold. The email arrives at 2:47 p.m. Eastern Time, simultaneously hitting every Meridian Airways executive inbox with the precision of a surgical strike. The subject line is simple, innocuous even. Notice of emergency shareholder meeting, effective immediately. CEO Harrison reads it 3 times, each word landing like a hammer blow to his carefully constructed world. As majority shareholder of Meridian Airways, I am calling an emergency meeting pursuant to Section 7.3 of the corporate bylaws. Attendance is mandatory for all C-suite executives and board members. Conference Room A, 4:00 p.m. The agenda will include immediate restructuring of leadership and review of discriminatory practices within our organization. Diana Washington, Chairman. Not a title anyone has used at Meridian in 5 years, not since the last majority owners sold out to pursue other investments. But technically, legally, with 51% ownership, Diana Washington can call herself whatever she wants. She can do whatever she wants. How did we not know? Harrison demands again, his voice rising to near hysteria. How does someone buy half our company without us noticing? Park pulls up record after record, showing the careful accumulation, the strategic patience. She was brilliant. Never more than 4.9% in any single entity, spread across dozens of holdings. Nothing that would trigger SEC disclosure requirements until... He gestures helplessly at the screen, showing the corporate structure. Until she consolidated it all this morning. Get Mitchell on the phone. Tell him to... Harrison stops, realizing the futility of warnings. No. He needs to hear this in person. Get him back here. His flight doesn't land until... I don't care if you have to charter a Gulfstream. Get him here. In the Meridian Media Monitoring Center, normally a sleepy department that tracks route announcements and quarterly earnings coverage, controlled chaos reigns. The social media manager watches in horror as the video views climb exponentially. 100,000, 500,000, 1.2 million. Pilot calls cops on black female CEO trends nationwide within an hour. The comments are brutal, calling for boycotts, investigations, Mitchell's termination, Harrison's resignation, and creative punishments that would violate several international treaties. News vans arrive at Atlanta Airport like sharks scenting blood. Reporters interview passengers from Flight 742, each account more damning than the last. Eleanor Morrison, the woman from 2B, doesn't hold back. It was disgusting. That woman did absolutely nothing wrong. The captain targeted her from the moment he saw her, and I'm ashamed I didn't do more to stop it. Alex Chen, who recorded everything, has already posted his footage to every platform, his commentary making it clear this wasn't a security issue but a flying while black incident. The passenger never raised her voice, never made a threat. She just sat there while they ganged up on her. Captain Mitchell should be in jail, not a cockpit. At 3:15 p.m., Captain Mitchell lands in Los Angeles, unaware of the storm brewing. He's in good spirits, regaling the crew with sanitized versions of past difficult passengers he's handled. His phone has been off, per regulations. He has no idea his world is about to end. A Meridian operations manager meets him at the gate, her face carefully neutral. Captain Mitchell, I need you to come with me. What's this about? His good mood evaporates instantly. Corporate needs you in Atlanta immediately. There's a charter waiting. Mitchell frowns, his instincts finally alerting him to danger. I've got a return flight in 3 hours. Not anymore. This is priority one from the CEO himself. For the first time, real concern flickers across Mitchell's face. In 30 years, he's never been summoned like this. Is this about this morning? I don't know, sir. I was just told to get you on that plane. She's lying, of course, everyone knows. The entire airline is watching the video, choosing sides, updating resumes. During the short flight to Atlanta, Mitchell finally turns on his phone. The flood of notifications makes him physically ill. Missed calls from his ex-wife, his kids, his union rep, reporters from every major outlet. Text messages ranging from supportive, "You did what you had to do," to horrified, "I can't believe you're my father," and then he sees the video. Multiple angles of him standing over Diana Washington. His words captured in perfect clarity. "I don't care if you paid for the whole damn plane." His hands shake as he watches himself through the passenger's eyes. The angle is unflattering in every sense. Physically, morally, spiritually. He looks like exactly what he's spent his whole life claiming not to be. A racist, drunk on power, humiliating a black woman for the crime of existing in a space he deemed white only. "No," he mutters to the empty cabin of the chartered King Air. "They don't understand. She was a threat. I was protecting..." But even to his own ears, the justification sounds hollow. What threat? The woman sat quietly, showed her documents, spoke respectfully. The only threat was to Mitchell's worldview, to his sense of who belongs where. At Meridian headquarters, Diana Washington enters through the main lobby for the first time as owner. She'd always come through shell companies before, meetings with subsidiaries, careful to maintain her anonymity until the perfect moment. Now she walks with the quiet authority of a woman who owns every tile beneath her feet, every plane in the hangar, every route in the system. The security tries to stop her. They don't recognize her, have no reason to think this black woman belongs in the executive spaces. "Ma'am, I'll need to see some identification. This area is restricted." She simply holds up her driver's license and says, "Check your database." "I'll wait." The guard's eyes widen as the system confirms what seems impossible. His fingers actually fumble as he types, checking twice, 3 times. "Ms. Washington, I apologize. Welcome to your company." "Thank you." Diana heads for the executive elevator, no hard feelings toward the guard. "You were doing your job. I respect that." The elevator ride to the top floor takes 47 seconds. Diana counts each one, thinking of her mother. She never made it past the 3rd floor. Employee facilities, where they told her to eat her lunch away from public areas because some passengers had complained about seeing black staff on breaks. Where they made her change into her uniform because God forbid paying customers see a black woman in street clothes in their airline. The boardroom is already full when she arrives. Harrison, Park, the entire C-suite, half the board of directors, and enough lawyers to staff a small firm. They all turn when she enters, and the silence is profound. These are people who are used to being the most powerful person in any room, and they've just realized they're not even close. Diana takes her place at the head of the table, the chairman's seat that's been empty for years. She sets her mother's ID badge on the polished wood, centering it carefully, then pulls out her phone and places it beside the badge. 2 objects that tell the entire story. The past that was stolen, and the future that's been claimed. "Gentlemen, ladies," her voice carries without being raised, filling the room with quiet authority. 43 minutes ago, a video showing Captain Mitchell removing me from Flight 742 reached 2 million views. In the past hour, our stock has dropped 8%. We've had calls from the NAACP, the ACLU, 3 senators, and the Department of Justice. She pauses, lets the weight of it settle on shoulders that aren't used to carrying such loads. This ends today. Harrison clears his throat, attempting to salvage something from the wreckage. "Miss Washington, if we could discuss..." "No discussion. I'm not here to negotiate." Diana opens her briefcase, pulls out a thick folder that lands on the table with a sound like judgment. This contains documentation of 237 incidents of discrimination by Meridian employees over the past 5 years. Passengers removed for being black, Muslim, Latino, flight attendants harassed, pilots promoted based on everything except merit. Those are allegations, someone starts. These are facts, with video evidence, witness statements, and settlement agreements you thought were sealed. Diana's eyes find Harrison, pinning him like an insect to a board. You've known. You've all known, and you've done nothing because it was easier, cheaper, to maintain the status quo. The door bursts open. Mitchell storms in, still in his pilot's uniform, the 4 stripes on his shoulders now looking more like prison bars. What the hell is going on? Someone want to explain why I was dragged? He stops dead when he sees Diana. The recognition is instant and devastating. The unruly passenger sits at the head of the table, in the seat of absolute power. Mitchell's face cycles through confusion, disbelief, and finally, terrible understanding. His legs actually wobble, and he has to grab the door frame for support. "Captain Mitchell," Diana says calmly, as if greeting an old friend. "Please, have a seat. We were just discussing your future with Meridian Airways." The CEO's hands shook as he realized they had just declared war on their own boss.